This lesson is over percent. But before we do that, let's look at our number routine of alike and differences. So we start with 6 gallons. With that, we can drive 180 miles. 8 gallons, 240 miles. 10 gallons, 300 miles. 12 gallons, 360 miles. What can you say about this? Well, I see nothing but even numbers. This is counting by 2s. This is counting by 60 look like. So it's gallons of miles. This is driving a car. So they're alike, they're using car. So what's the relationship here between 180 to 60, 240 to 8, 300 to 10, and 360 to 12? What is the relationship? It seems like the relationship is times 30. Times 30. So the relationship is times 30. That is the constant of proportionality. Because remember, the constant proportionality is K equal Y over X. If this was graphed, you would take an ordered pair from the coordinate plane, and the Y would go on the numerator, the X would go in the denominator. 180 divided by 6 is 30. So what is this constant proportionality? It is a constant ratio comparing two quantities. That means, since I know 30, any gallon you give me, 15 gallon, 20 gallon, any gallon you give me, if I multiply it by 30, I will always get its mile. Like for example, if the gallon was 5, I multiply by 30, it'd be 150 miles. If the gallon was 20, I multiply by 30, that's 360 miles. So in your group, you will be discussing the following: true or false. A restaurant server who does a really good job typically gets a 10% tip. So if your parents are at Chili's or any restaurant with a wait service, will they just give them 10% at the end of the meal? I think that's false. In the Houston area, it rains 50% of the time. 50%. Doesn't that mean half? No, it doesn't rain half of the days. Or false. The sales tax in the Katy area is about 12%. 12%. Let's think about it. If I go to the McDonald's and get the dollar menu, or go to the dollar store, will I pay 12 cents in tax? Like $1, buy something for $1, and will they charge me $1.12? No, they always charge me $1.08. Because I know when I buy two things, they always charge me like $2.17. So I think that's false. Number 4, 91% of American kids play video games. That's like almost all of them. That's highly likely that most kids. I believe that's true. 2/5 or 40% of kids have food allergies. I know I have food allergies. I think that is true because I've heard that is a growing problem in America. So let's see the answers. Number 1, a restaurant server who does a good job. That's false. 20%. Yeah, 20%. In the Houston area, it raised 50%. That's really false. The sales tax is it's about 8.25%. Some places 7.25%. 91% of American kids play video games. That's true. And 2/5 or 40% of kids have food allergies. That is definitely true. That's 40% is a little half of all the kids. So we're gonna we'll do this one. This is constant proportionality. Again, the formula, you don't have to memorize this. You will be given this when you go to 7th grade on the mathematics reference material. It's K equal YX. So pick a order pair from this graph. I picked this one, 2, 8. That means there are 8 bracelets for every 2 girls. So if I substitute the Y with 8 and the X with 2, 8 divided 2 is 4. So the constant proportionality is 4. What does that mean? That means I can multiply the number of girls by 4 and always know how many bracelets I need. For example, if I multiply 5 girls by 4, it'll be 20 braces I need. If I multiply 8 girls by 4, 32 braces is what I need. So what is a percent? A percent is used as this symbol, represented by this symbol. Per cent. How many cents are there in a dollar? 100. So per cents means per 100 or out of 100. It is a ratio that compares a number to 100 because it's easier to compare things to 100. For example, if you look and said 3 out of 4 people like yellow, it's easier if you say 75% of the group like yellow. That means almost more than half of the group like yellow. I know we're having elections. So in an election, if they use poll numbers, like say one candidate, 40% of the voters like this candidate. So we know that's a little less than half of all the voters. If we just gave you a number, say, well, 10,000 people like this candidate, what does that mean? If you're given a percent, you can quickly reference point, oh, is it more than half or less than half? So, in this activity, you will be given some Unifix cubes. You will connect them by light color. For example, red, red, yellow, green. So, I have red, yellow, and green. What fraction of my Unifix cube are red? 2/4. 2/4. Or isn't that just half? 2/4 or 1/2. Percent per 100 or out of 100. How can I build this percent to 100? I need to multiply the numerator and denominator by 25. So if I multiply 4 by 25, I get 100, and 2 times 25 is 50. So 50 100. Again, a percent is per 100. So what number is above 100? 50%. So how do you write 50 hundredths as a decimal, such as this, 50 hundredths? So 50 hundredths, 50%, 50 hundredths, 2/4 are all equivalent. Let's do green. What fraction of the Unifix bar is green? 1/4. I need to find a percent. That means I need to build it up to 100. How do I build 4 to 100? I multiply by the scale factor of 25. So 1 times 25 is 25 hundredths. How do I write that as a decimal? 0 and 25 hundredths. How do I write that as a percent? What number is above 100? 25%. So we're going to do it for several items. So let's try this one, red and red. So what fraction of the bar is red? 2 out of 5. What percent is that? Well, let's look at this bar. Is it more than half or less than half? Well, it's less than half, so I know our answer will be less than 50%. So because I know 50% is right here, so it's barely less. If I had to estimate, maybe 40, 38%, something around there. So let's, instead of guessing, let's use the mathematics on this. What's the percent again? Per 100, out of 100. So I'm going to build it to 100. So what's the scale factor do I multiply by? By 20. So I'm multiplying by the scale factor of 20. So it's 40 hundredths. How do you write 40 hundredths as a decimal? 0 and 40 hundredths. What percent is 40 hundredths? 40%, because a percent is anything per 100. So it is true. It's a little less than half. Let's do another example. There are 20 random Unifix cubes. Let's use this one. Let's use red again. What fraction is red? 3 out of 20. How can I build this to a percent in decimal? Again, what is a percent? Anything per 100. So how do I build 20 to 100? Times 5. So that's be 15 hundredths. How would I write that as a decimal? 15 hundredths. And what percent would that be? percent is anything per 100, so per 100, so percent will be 15%. Could I have gotten this without knowing this? Well, I know this is a percent bar. It goes into, there are 100% in a percent bar. This is, so if there's 100% and I know half of it, 3, 6, 9, 10, so 50% is here. And this is all broken up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So this is broken up by 5%, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So that's where I saw the 50%. Last but not least, white. Let's just say this, this, and this, and this are white. So what fraction of the bar is white? 4 out of 25. How can I build this up to 100? Well, I know this whole bar is 100%. So how many 25s go in 100 times 4? So that's 1600s. The decimal is 1600. The percent is 16%. So now that we understand this a little more, if I give you just a single bar like this, can you model 40%? Well, I know 50% is right here. That's half. So 40% will go from here to here. Next one. Model 65%. Well, I know 50% is here. So 65% is just a little more than half. So I have to say this will probably be 65%. So again, percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. It can be written as out of 100, per 100, or out of 100, or something over 100. For example, 24% means 24 out of 100, or 24 per 100, or 24 hundredths. Sometimes you can simplify this ratio, because 24 hundredths can be simplified as 6/25, but you can still build it back up to 100 by multiplying by the scale factor of 4 and get 24 hundredths. And that's how you write it as a decimal. So let's practice on examples. The Titanic Toy Company has a 4% return rate on its product. Write this percent as a fraction in simplest form in decimal. So what is a percent again? Anything per 100. So 4% means 4 per 100. So that's our fraction. 4 hundredths. How would you write that as a decimal? 4 hundredths. And that is it. Could I simplify 400 if I wanted to? Yes, I can. I can divide the numerator and denominator by 4 and get 1/25. So 4% is equivalent to 1/25, which is equivalent to 4 hundredths and a decimal 400. Next one. There are 4 trombones out of 25 instruments in the Landerstown Band. What percent and decimal of the instruments are trombone? So it's part to whole. 4 trombones out of 25 instruments. I need to turn this into a percent and a decimal. But to turn it into a percent, it has to be something per 100. So how can I scale this forward so it is per 100? Times 4 times 4. So 1600 is my fraction, or 1600 is my decimal, and my percent is 16%. On Saturday afternoon, 6 out of 8 telephone calls today taken at the Overlook restaurant were for dinner reservation. What percent and decimal of the telephone calls were for dinner reservation? So part out of whole, 6 out of 8 phone calls. So I need to turn it to a percent. A percent is anything per 100. Can 8 be built to 100? I know the number, but most of you won't come up with that. It's 12.5 or 12 and 5 tenths. But is there a faster? I just want to use friendlier numbers. Could I simplify 6/8 to 3/4? I could. Now can I build it up to 100 using 4? Oh yeah, that would be a times 25. So I scale back, now I'm scaling it forward. So that'd be 75 hundredths, or 75%, or 75 hundredths. And that is so 75%. That means more than half of the phone calls are for dinner. The local bowling team won 4 out of their 16 games this year. That's part to whole. What percent and decimals did this team win? So I need to, percent is building it to 100. Can 100 be built to 100? 16 be built to 100? No. Could I simplify this? I could do 2/8 or 1/4. Do you know the decimal equivalence of 1/4? Isn't that 25 hundredths? How do I get that? How do you build 4 to 100 times 25 times 25? So our fraction is 25 hundredths, or 1/4, or 4/16, or the decimal is 2500. So our percent is 25%. That means less than half of their games they won. Not good. Let's try our last example. Lucy accepted 3 out of 15 love letters from me. What percent and decimal of love letters did she not accept? So she did not accept 12 out of 15. So what percent did she not accept? Did she reject me? So can I build this to 100? Can 15 be built to 100? No. Why don't I simplify this? If I divide both numbers by 3, I get 4/5. Now can 5 be built to 100? Times 20, that'd be 80 hundredths, 80 hundredths, or 80%. So she took 20%, but she rejected 80%. So in this example, can you match things together? All right, let's see. Let's match. There's my arrow. Well, let's do 55%, 75%, 24%, and 40%. Well, this will be 50% means per 100. Per 100, 24 hundredths. Per 100, 40 hundredths. Can I simplify this? Divide both numbers by 5, 11 20th. I'm going to skip this one. Divide both numbers by 10, I get 4/10. They're still even. Divide by 2, 2/5. Isn't 75 cents 3/4 out of 4? So I mean, this is the last one. 12/50 or 6/25. Stores usually advertise the sales price as a percent or fraction of the original price. Savvy shoppers know how percents and fractions compare to know what is a better deal. Which is the better deal? Explain. Well, let me get my pen. I know half is like 50% off. So I know this is probably the better deal so far. So better than this one. Let's think about the fraction 1/3. Is 1/3 more than half or less than half? It is less than half. So I know it can't be this one because 1/3 is about 33%. 40%, nope. So the answer is this one. So this is percent. Percent is anything per 100. You get to build it up to anything per 100 out of 100. From that, you can also find its decimal equivalency.